Today, we will once again take a look at interesting footage that captures a moment: how Ukrainian Relying FPV drones in battle and wiped out dozens Russian troops. Currently, Ukraine is relying on the massive use of drones to compensate for an artillery shell shortage and undermine Russian military capabilities. Both drones used for strikes hundreds of kilometers away and commercial drones are starting to dominate the battlefield. In particular, so-called first-person view (FPV) drones allow their pilots to see live images of the ground as if they were on board and can locate enemy units and, if armed with explosives, attack them from within a few kilometers. At the moment in Ukraine, we are seeing the use of drones on an unimaginable scale. We are really talking about tens and hundreds of thousands of drones on the battlefield. Ulrich Frank, a researcher at the European Council on Foreign Relations, ECFR, told media. In its 2024 budget, Kyiv earmarked €1.15 billion, $1.25 billion, for drones, and President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that the country will produce 1 million drones this year, after setting up a specific drone branch in February. Kyiv's direction comes as its supporters are trying to bolster Ukrainian stocks. London is set to deliver more than 10,000 drones, of which 1,000 are FPV drones, and Paris is preparing to order 2,000 kamikaze drones, some of which will be used in Ukraine. Ukrainian officials estimate between 100,000 and 120,000 drones are needed monthly. According to an Institute for Strategic Studies (IASS) review, it needs 200,000 to 250,000 artillery shells per month for a major offensive or 75,000 to 90,000 to sustain the war defensively. Western backers largely depend on U.S. stocks to sustain defense, but Kyiv does not have enough ammunition to launch a major offensive next year, it added. So Ukraine can reduce its requirements for artillery ammunition by significantly increasing production of strike drones, continued Michael Kaufman and Franz Stefan Gatti in the IASS review. Drones are capable of reproducing many of the functions of artillery and missiles at a fraction of the cost, agreed Mykola Bieliskov of the Atlantic Council. A small commercial drone costs just a few €100, whereas a simple anti-tank missile, artillery shell or remotely operated munition costs several thousands. Ukrainian FPV drones are currently responsible for between 65 and 85% of the destruction of Russian positions, according to a French military source. But Ulrich Frank warned, they use drones because they can produce or buy them, but it is not ideal, and FPV drones have a small load capacity of just hundreds of grams of explosive and a few kilograms for the largest commercial drones. Even large numbers of small drones cannot match the potency of artillery fire, agreed Stacy Pettyjohn in a study by American security think tank, CNAS. In September, some media reported that less than a third of drone strikes hit their target, as the machines can easily be jammed or disrupted by electronic countermeasures. But in 2022, Ukraine had a 9-to-1 advantage in commercial drones, but this lead has now essentially disappeared, Pettyjohn added. While the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense was slow to catch up, Ukrainian troops had quickly the utility of commercial quadcopters, and volunteer groups had emerged to provide frontline soldiers with drones and the necessary training. But this time, Russia has lost more than 500 armored vehicles per month since the start of its full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, according to Kyiv's latest figures. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry posted on X, formerly Twitter, about how many pieces of equipment its forces had managed to destroy in the first 24 months of the war started by Vladimir Putin. In the post, it said on Monday, 13,000 Russian armored combat vehicles have been destroyed since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. It's, on average, more than 500 armored vehicles per month. Ukrainian warriors destroy Russian weapons with incredible speed, and the update on Monday also said that over the course of the war, Russia had lost 6,809 tanks, 12,141 vehicles and fuel tanks, as well as 1,017 multiple launch rocket systems and 720 air defense systems. The latest numbers from the website Oryx, which lists equipment losses based on video or still footage, said that as of Monday, Russian forces had lost 1,261 armored fighting vehicles, 858 of which were destroyed, 34 damaged, 101 abandoned and 268 captured. Oryx says that the standard of proof required means that the amount of equipment destroyed is significantly higher than it records. Its latest figures said that Russian forces had lost 2,827 tanks. Ukraine also said on Monday that Russian forces had lost 810 troops the previous day, taking total losses of troops, including those both dead and injured, to 431,550. In analysis released on March 14th for the Jamestown Foundation, military analyst Pavel Luzin said Russia had been taking Soviet-era arms out of storage to offset its dwindling supply of weapons, despite these reserves being limited. Luzin, visiting scholar at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, said that the storage bases are not endless, and Russia cannot replenish these arms and material. If Ukraine keeps up combat intensity and Russia continues to face high equipment losses this year, it will be much harder for the Russian army to maintain its military power for offensive operations in 2025, Luzin added. Vladimir Putin has claimed victory in a controlled presidential election, and the Kremlin wanted a win to consolidate backing in the country for the full-scale invasion, despite the huge cost in Russian lives and equipment and an economy buffeted by sanctions. Markus Korhonen, senior associate at security firm Strategic Intelligence, told media, despite economic challenges and military losses, Putin's ability to maintain domestic support amidst sanctions underscores his strategic resilience, raising concerns amongst neighboring states about potential provocations under his continued leadership.